Hi class, well we're nearing the end. I was outside today trimming my bougainvillea, and for those of you who've seen it, very pretty flowers, but the whole thing is full of stickers, and I reached in there and I got clawed pretty good. So I went to the doctor's and I told him I wasn't feeling that great. And then he handed me the bill and I had sticker shock. Anyway, wrapping up. The last quiz class. Now, a lot of you noticed that I took the time limit off the quiz. And I'm basically doing an experiment that a lot of students said I could solve these problems if I just had more time to think about it. So I just wanted to see if it's true, and as it turns out, it really is true. Meaning, class average was 85, and I said I was shooting for 82, so for the first time ever, there's no curve. Because you all did very, very well. Hopefully you didn't use that to cheat. But anyway, I am not going to impugn your honesty if I don't have proof. Don't forget there's amnesty. You can't make up discussions. You can't make up discussions because there's nobody to talk to. The discussion's closed. But you can make up assignments. For those of you who have zeros, you have until Monday to get it in. Please do the work. You get a 10% penalty, but let me tell you something. A zero does hell to your grade. And I'm not in the business of failing people. If you have issues or you need help, just let me know. Also, don't forget, on your final project, you do a peer review. How good were your teammates? And the reason why I do that is you get free riders, and the free rider does nothing or causes you all kinds of problems, and I take that into consideration when I grade. So if everybody on a team says you are the big problem, then guess what? I have the right to dock your grade up to 25 points. That happened one semester. One guy free rode through the whole thing. The team actually got a 95 on the assignment, but he got 70. Ooh, did he scream bloody murder about that? But on his peer reviews, and keep in mind they're confidential, they don't know, although if everybody in the team says something, he pretty much knows who said what. But that's the way you can get into trouble. So don't be one of those guys who just rides off his team. The big picture. The keys to doing well in the big picture is it's actually not hard. The biggest problem that students have on the big picture is coordination. And you can tell who's putting time into it and who isn't putting time into it. All the big picture is you're telling a story. And the first part of the story is, this is your situation, this is the landscape, the situation you find yourself in, and this is our suggestion of how you can get out of it through marketing. And then each of you individually does a section. And the key thing is to make sure that they all support each other. If you're not going to change the price, that's fine. But talk about competitor pricing, because you need some kind of benchmark. And then talk about why you chose not to change the price. I expect everybody to write about 2 pages each. Also, when you look things up, don't forget to put in your references. If you start quoting me numbers and I don't see references, whoosh, whoosh, happens to your grade. And the reason why I take off a lot for it is, how do I know you're just making these facts up? And so you have to have references to do it. Now, an example, I'll take GoPro for an example. If you want to steal this, but by all means go right ahead. But what's the problem with GoPro? Well, GoPro for many, many years was like growing exponentially. And then they actually started going down, and now they've recovered a little bit. Now the question is, where do they go from here? I mean, they got $1 billion in sales, but they have heavy, heavy competition from all kinds of knockoffs and everything else. What is GoPro going to do? Well, always look at what the original story was. And Nick Woodman, the CEO, even admits this. They lost their story. Because GoPro wasn't about a camera. GoPro was about a device so extreme sports people could express themselves. They understood the customer better than anybody else. And that is their key, customer intimacy. So when we talk about intimacy, we're talking about emotion. When you're talking about emotion, you're talking about communication. For example, should GoPro form an alliance with Snapchat? Snapchat's in trouble. That's one way of going about it. Another thing is in terms of price, should they do about price? Well, because there's so much competition, they probably, do they really want to go into the luxury end? And that's a decision they can make. But the question is, how many people really pay for the luxury end? Maybe professionals, but now you've really started limiting your market. The other part of it is, remember all of the 4 Ps. And I've pounded this into you, and I hope you remember it. It's just based on one idea. Now, here's the thing. The business students, they learn all the details. They're never going to remember all those details. But if you think about the 4 Ps, what is it about product? They want everything, but they don't want to have to pay for it. And so, what is it that they will pay for? And so that gets into the techniques. What's price about? 2 kinds of pricing. Remember, cost-based. What kind of margin do I want? And you can look it up on the stock market, what they're selling for. Or the other is if it's based on emotion. And so that has to do with brand. Promotion. What message do I want to send? Is this time for GoPro to start going to mass communication? They've never had a TV ad or something like that. One guy who's really getting caught up in that is actually Tesla right now. Musk said we will never do conventional advertising. But the thing is, now you're getting into the early, you're moving out of the early adopters and getting into the early majority. And the early majority is swayed by ads. And so, do you need some kind of new ad thing? Do you need to advertise like Messi or somebody like that? Now, granted, this is a lot more money, so you have to start looking at the budget. But these are the things that go into GoPro. But the point is maybe for distribution, you start your own social media network. Well, that was the idea of getting involved with Snapchat. But again, it's a whole cohesive story about this is our strength and we need to recapture it. This is what separates us from just a knockoff camera. Because a knockoff camera is just about a camera. Remember Apple? When I talked about the minimally lovable product? Apple never talks about specifications, but you have a connection to Apple. And so that's the key to doing well on the big picture. Also, do not do question and answer. This is supposed to be a report to a CEO. If you do question and answer, right away your grade drops down to 80. It's a very big part of this. And yeah, it might be about formatting or whatever. And it's not about that. It's the intent of this. That when you're writing a report to someone, you're trying to tell them a story. What is that story? For those of you who watch the finale, and I hope you do, but I know a lot of you don't watch the videos. How do I know? YouTube actually tracks how many views there are. And let's see, there are fewer views than there are number of students. That probably means a lot of you just aren't watching things. And something, that's your choice. The only thing I have to say is just don't blame me later for it. If you choose not to watch, you choose not to watch. That's your prerogative as a student. Now, a lot of you who've had me in other courses know I do not like student evaluation time. And that's because if I want to get a good student evaluation, then what do you have to do? You have to dummy down your course and everything like that. And I'm not interested in doing that. To me, I want to give you skills. I want to give you skills where you could start beating out MBA type students. And that's what this course is about. I cut out the fat out of marketing and just gave you this stuff that you really, really need to know. And so fill it out, don't fill it out. I should care about it because your professors actually get evaluated on this stuff. On the other hand, I don't want to care about it because I believe the role of your teachers is to make you feel uncomfortable. because we're supposed to expand your abilities. You can't do that if we're just giving you stuff in your comfort zone. We're not challenging you. But it is important. It does get looked at, and we get evaluated on it. So it's your choice whether or not you want to fill it out or not. Anyway, if you have any questions, please let me know. And if I don't hear from you, have a great rest of your summer.